Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Ukraine's armed forces have liberated Brajanka, a town of 13,000 people northwest of Kiev from the occupying Russian forces. As in Bucha, there were also crimes against civilians and the town was almost completely destroyed. Our special reporter, Michał Czesniewski, is on the spot. The Russians deployed their logistical facilities in Brajanka, from where they conducted their attacks on Kiev. I was at home when a shell fell. Such a bang it blocked my ears. And then I saw Russian armoured cars, which one after another drove day and night. The ground was shaking. 7 people on each tank, screaming and shouting. We sat in the basement and didn't come out. The shell has blown down this large building. There are maybe as many as 100 people under the rubble, but we don't have the equipment to pull their bodies out. There were Russian soldiers, there were Belarusians and dark-skinned people, probably Chechens from the Urals. We were not allowed to go out into the street. We saw them from afar, but we didn't talk to them. Rockets rained down there, and they also threw bombs that disintegrated in the air. Russians came to us, one spoke Belarusian. There were also Chechens. They thought they were in Bucha and shouted, "Kadyrov, job done." The Russians occupied part of the village, demolished that gate, knocked down trees and beat people. They told one of the former policemen that if he did not escape by morning, they would shoot him. They stole everything, took hunting guns and electronics from houses, anything they liked. Then the Kadyrovtsi came and started killing people in the streets. At first it was peaceful, but then when the territorial defense put up resistance, the Russians began to destroy everything, shooting at buildings and killing people. Kadyrovtsi, who had set up checkpoints there and were checking documents, were shooting. The Russians said that they did not want war and did not want to fight, but the Kadyrovtsi did not let them leave the battlefield. In Brajanka, people were dying under the rubble. As in other occupied towns and villages, the Russians committed crimes against civilians. Many people went missing. The scale of the crimes is not yet known. Michał Czesniewski, Mikołaj Yefimenko, Telewizja Republika. The 43rd day of the war in Ukraine has revealed further evidence of Russian crimes against civilians. The Ukrainian authorities report that the Russian army treated the murder of people as shooting practice. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky is continuing his diplomatic mission. President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke to the Greek parliament and promised that the Russians would be held accountable for their crimes. He argued that the war against Ukraine is at the same time a war against the entire Western world. Once and for all, we will teach Russia and any other potential aggressor that those who choose war always lose. Those who try to strip a country of its independence and destroy its territorial integrity always lose. Those who blackmail Europe with an economic or energy crisis always lose. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned Western countries against supporting Ukraine. Sending weapons to Ukraine in various formats is unlikely to contribute to the success of the Russian-Ukrainian talks. Of course, it will most likely have a negative impact. Another city in which the Russians committed crimes is Brajanka. The tragic situation was reported by the Russian... I'll do that again. Another city in which the Russians committed crimes is Brajanka. The tragic situation was reported by the Ukrainian Interior Minister. Today, the town of Brajanka is one of the most devastated towns in the Kiev region. Locals tell how planes came in the first days of the war and fired rockets at their homes from low altitudes. Mariupol authorities report that the Russians have started using mobile crematoria. Moscow is using local collaborators in this procedure, and the whole operation is supervised by the self-proclaimed mayor, Konstantin Ivashenko. Since the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office has been investigating Russian crimes. We started the proceedings on the 24th of February. There are currently more than 4,000 continuing proceedings. There are some that were initially classified as war crimes. Moreover, we have more than 2,000 related crimes that may be reclassified. The United Nations has released frightening figures. The organization recorded 1,563 murdered civilians, but these figures may be an underestimate. Ukraine's former Interior Minister reported that Russian snipers treated civilians as human shields for training. Police have revealed 11 corpses of civilians in one of the garages in Hostomel, near Bucha. Locals say that the shooting of civilians was training for Russian snipers, who have then dragged the corpses into the garage. Ukrainians who survived the inferno bear witness to Russian crimes. We all hid in the warehouse. There were 4 of us, my son, my wife, myself and my godmother, who came from Nijin. We sat there while the Russians were shooting. They came inside through a window and started going through our things. They took everything they could. They took the torch and the tablet that my son had brought from Poland. They took everything. Meanwhile, the hacking group Anonymous continues its actions against Russia. This time they have taken control of the Kremlin's closed-circuit television. We won't stop until we reveal all your secrets. You will not be able to stop us. Now we are in your fortress, the Kremlin. The war has changed the lives of all Ukrainians. A group of volunteer animators have created a film that depicts ordinary human life against a backdrop of destroyed cities. Ukraine will keep up demands for an oil and gas embargo on Russia at a NATO meeting on Thursday, as the European Union promised a 5th round of sanctions by Friday. While a possible European Union ban on Russian oil and gas would cut off a significant source of revenue from Moscow's war, it would also hit Europe's economy and push up soaring gas prices. According to EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell, a 5th package of EU sanctions, which include a ban on coal, will be agreed on Thursday or Friday.
Well, it's not on the package of the 5th sanctions, which is being discussed today. It's only coal. But things will be discussed on Monday on the Foreign Affairs Council of Ministers. And sooner or later, I hope sooner, it will happen. They are looking at a close look at the list of the people and the sectors affected. Maybe this afternoon or tomorrow, the latest.
Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba will address NATO's 30 allies as well as the European Union, Finland, Sweden, Japan, New Zealand and Australia during a special session of foreign ministers to maintain international support for sanctions and weapon supplies. Outrage over civilian killings in the Ukrainian town of Bucha near Kiev appears to have galvanized Western support. Russia said the events in the Ukrainian town are a monstrous fabrication and calls its invasion of Ukraine a special military operation. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State Assets, Jacek Sasin, has given assurances that Poland is prepared for the consequences of sanctions against Russia. As the Deputy Prime Minister said today, this is a necessary element in the fight against the military aggression of the Putin regime. Not only are we demanding sanctions, but we ourselves are introducing sanctions earlier than the European Union. Sanctions on Russian coal and its transit to Europe. We are prepared to cover this loss of market share from our own extraction and imports from other directions. When it comes to oil, we can leave very quickly. Prime Minister Morawiecki has announced that by the end of the year, we will be able to stop buying Russian gas. This could, of course, mean a price increase. But we have to factor into the calculation whether we prefer slightly cheaper fuel or the threat of war with Russia. We are also watching the food markets. Ukraine was a major exporter of grain to the rest of the world. In Poland, we are self-sufficient in foodstuffs, but the war will push up prices for agricultural products.
Wzrost cen, ale no mówię, zawsze jest to pytanie, co jest w tym przypadku mniejszą stratą.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programs. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.